We are officially live. Another episode of Shut Up and Invest. Today's episode, we're going to get into the nitty gritty of project managing, dealing with contractors, how we do renovations, some of the horror stories and some of the best stories. We're going to get into it today. But before we do, the man with the plan, Mr. J Money. What's going on, my brother?
Hey, Kevin, man, how's it going? Doing
I'm
good?
doing good, bro. We don't gotta talk about me. I think we gotta focus on you before we get into project managing, because you just finished project managing a move to a whole different location. Still beautiful weather, still beaches and palm
still
trees.
tropical. Little Miami is still, still like Miami, but a little more south, close to the equator, But yeah, man, I moved to Puerto Rico. I'm down here right now. Last week was hectic. I was trying to do the move. I was coaching football. We're in a playoff run. We're doing the podcast, the business, everything. But we're finally here. Got here on Sunday. Got all settled in today. So we're doing our first show from down here. So we had to come, make sure our technical difficulties were fixed before we came on. But hopefully the Wi-Fi is good and it goes through smoothly.
Sounds good, looks good. But let's spend a little bit of the first 5 minutes of the show to talk about, because I think most listeners and the real idea of getting into real estate and investing and is to get freedom to be able to do things like we're talking about right now. So I like to kind of get into how that works, where you guys, when did you decide to move? What made you decide to move? How are you project managing the move and keeping your business going? Let's get a little bit into that.
Got it. So when we decided to move, I mean, we've always talked about it. The first time I met Kevin, we actually, we were talking about Puerto Rico on the airport the one day. So it's always been conversation that me and my wife have. Like I said, we lived in Hawaii before. We moved to Hawaii for 6 months. We left Michigan. We've been in Miami for 5 years, right? So it's funny though. It seems like whenever a kid graduates high school, we move, right? So our oldest son graduated high school. We moved to Miami. My youngest son graduated high school from Miami. Now we're moving to Puerto Rico. We got the 3 girls still, so I promise them we won't move again until, at least one of them graduates from high school. But, I realized that my business is virtual. Like we got the virtual investing course. We talk about virtual investing, but my business is truly 100% virtual, which means I can do it from wherever I want to do it, And so, during probably I think April or May, we were renting our apartment in Miami, and, our landlord said she needed to sell the apartment. So, we were kind of going back and forth. Did we move somewhere else to Miami? We were looking at the Keys for a little bit. Puerto Rico or an island was always in our mind. We just kind of said, hey, let's move to Puerto Rico. Literally it was just like that. Me and my wife looked at each other, said, let's move to Puerto Rico. So we said it. We then researched it. We then came out here a couple of times before now, and we made the move.
Nice. Now, where in Puerto Rico are you? How did you even do the research? Is it expensive to live in Puerto Rico? Like what kind of situation?
Yeah, so right now I'm in the Dorado area, which if you start researching Puerto Rico, we can maybe do a show on all the benefits of Puerto Rico for a real estate investor, because there are a lot of benefits, right? Especially tax benefits, right? Which is not the main reason we came out here, but there are some extreme tax benefits for any kind of investor living in Puerto Rico. But when you start researching living out here, there's a lot of people from, the mainland states that have been moving to Puerto Rico for the last 4 or 5 years, like a lot, So we're in Dorado right now. We're going to probably be here for 2 months. Then we're going to actually be out in Vieques for 3 months. So Vieques is kind of a little island off the mainland of Puerto Rico. We're going out there. My wife's going to volunteer at the farm out there. The girls will volunteer at the farm out there. I'll keep doing my job. So, that's going to be from February to April. We'll do that. And then we're going to finally settle on where we're going to stay at, probably around May, right? So for right now, we're just kind of doing a, Airbnb for 2 months here. We're going to do Airbnb for 3 months in Vieques, and then kind of figure out where we're going to kind of settle at. So, but we're in Dorado right now. Dorado is a great area. The beach is literally outside that window. Down the street is the beach. Dorado is a mix of a lot of Americans, mainland Americans, Puerto Ricans, it's funny, a lot of crypto, right? So if you're into crypto or any kind of stocks and trades, a lot of people from private equity have moved to Puerto Rico exactly for the tax benefits too. So, that's where I'm at now. As far as managing the business, it's going on the same way it always is going on. I've never been in Michigan or Pennsylvania or wherever these houses are at for the last 4 or 5 years, right? So I'm not there anyway. I'm still running everything like I would run it when I was in Miami. So that never changed.
Nice. All right. So we'll get updates throughout the show and keep people posted. I wanted to spend a little time on that to really point out virtual real estate investing is real. You can live wherever you want. You can go to www.shutupandinvest.club and see how we set up the virtual investing platforms. And if that's something and that lifestyle is something that interests you, definitely reach out, definitely take the course. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be swinging a hammer and being inside these projects and flipping the properties and doing everything yourself. There is an alternative. However, this show will be talking about how to swing a hammer, how to manage that. And Jay, you're managing flips that are virtual as well right now.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say so much, flips as far as retail flips, but rehabs that we're going to sell on land contract or sort of financing, right? So yeah, I'm managing a few of those right now virtually. So we can get into the virtual way to do it. We can get in the way, Kevin's always got his hands in some kind of rehab, probably more than me, but you're doing a couple right now locally, that I know we've talked about before that are probably still giving you headaches, but we can kind of go into the back and forth of how you the best way to do that.
Yeah, we got Joseph checking in from Philly. What's going on, boss? We appreciate you guys. George giving a shout out. He just locked up a contract. Congratulations, saying he's working on the dispo. Appreciate the love. Yeah, so let's talk about the hardest part of it, I would say, is picking the right team when you're doing a project managing and renovation. How do you approach that when you are, whether you're locally or virtually, it's still a big decision to make because that's probably going to make or break how things are going to go.
Yeah, I think the first thing is, are you going to manage that renovation yourself or have a general contractor, someone else who manages it, right? That's locally or virtually, right? So, that part right there is the biggest decision to make because if you're going to do it yourself, you better have the time to do it yourself or you're going to run into issues, right? Because if you're the one coordinating all the subcontractors and all the budgets and all the schedules, you have the time for that, it's going to be an issue, right? So me personally, I always have someone in the market who's going to do it for us, right? And so finding that person was the biggest piece, finding someone trustworthy, who has connections in that area, who knows lots of different, reps and contractors, who knows how to go and talk deals down. Prices down on any kind of rehab work. From my side of it, that's the most crucial point is that general manager, general contractor.
Yeah, 100%. What are some of the characteristics and like how do you go about finding that person? Like what do you have a special strategy? How do you start knocking on doors to find the right person?
Yeah, it goes back to everything with me. The first thing I look at is like in my circle, right? In my people who I know, who could possibly be doing this job or who is already doing it, right? So I always look in circle first to see someone that I trust, right? And thankfully in my markets there's someone that I trust that's able to do that for us. If you don't have that, then like anything else, you want to get a couple different resources, referrals, right? And basically interview multiple people until you find the right person. Never just go with the first person you find, right? The guy or girl does it for the cheapest amount is not always the best, right? The one that does it for the most amount is not always the best. So if you're looking for someone who's doing this stuff, get referrals, right? See some of the jobs that they've done, that they've managed, right? Go to those jobs with them. Talk to those, investors or homeowners who they've managed those jobs for and get some feedback.
Yeah, 100%. We've talked about it on previous shows. I like to go ahead and give them a small job.
Yeah.
So before I go ahead and turn the whole renovation over to them, even if it's a different project, a different property, it doesn't matter. I can see how they respond. I can see if they keep their word. I can see how they take instruction. I can see their quality of work. And if it goes bad, well, I just gave them that small project. I didn't give them the whole renovation. So that's how I kind of screen somebody first. If you have a renovation and you don't have a smaller project to give them, you can give them a small project within the renovation, right? So you can slow your timeline down, give them something that shouldn't take more than a week, and say, look, I just need you to do this in here without promising them anything. Just let's work on this. Let's see how it goes. We'll talk about the rest. And then when it's done, you can say, hey, you know what? The person I had in mind for the rest of it is not, available. Why don't we continue working on the rest of the renovation project? And I'm a big believer in the proof is in the pudding.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people have. I'll tell you what, my first story that I'll share is the first renovation I ever did was my own personal house that I bought way back when. And we did everything. We gutted the whole thing. I mean, at that point, I was young. I was like 23, 24 years old. I had bought apartments up until that point. I hadn't bought a house.
Mm-hmm.
And renovating an apartment versus renovating a house is a completely different story. Like renovating an apartment to me is super simple because you're pretty much just dealing with the cosmetic, kitchen, bathrooms, tile, paint, AC unit, electrical. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you're not worrying about plumbing because usually the plumbing is throughout the whole building. You're worrying about internal plumbing if you're moving a sink or you're changing your shower setup, but you don't got to worry about the whole plumbing system most of the time. And if it is an issue there, you're dealing with the community. You're not having to deal with it yourself. And same thing with the roof. So when you're dealing with a house, you got landscaping, you got the driveway, you got the roof, you got the whole plumbing system on
foundation.
Exactly. On top of everything else that we just described. So my first renovation was for my personal house, and I got a recommendation from a cousin. She sent me her handyman guy. Came in, guy gave me a dirt cheap price. I couldn't even believe it. Now we were young, so we were gonna do the demo ourselves. Mm-hmm. Call up a couple of the boys, order some pizza and beer, crack out the sledgehammers and the tile chipping that we rented from Home Depot. Knock it all out in about 3-4 days, and we got the demo covered. So that part was easy. Rent the trash bin, throw it all in there, come back and pick it up, out of there. So the guy had to come in and we got guests. We got special guests.
We got a dog. So I took the dog upstairs. All right, we're good.
So he was gonna come in, lay the tile down. I had the kitchen guy to come in and do the kitchen. He was going to do some of the electrical work and paint and do all the finishes. All right. So I think at the time back then, price of doing these things were a lot cheaper. It was back when you could get somebody to do it for $1 a square foot type vibe in our market.
Good old days.
And the guy started working. We give him 50% up front, right? That's one thing that I want to talk about. How are we planning out the construction draws and the construction schedule? So at the time, I gave him 50%, and the deal was you're not going to get the other 50% until it's done, period. So I'm paying you up front. If these contractors are budgeting their projects correctly, that 50% up front should cover the bulk of the cost of the project. You shouldn't have to ask for more money because I need X. Now, if there's what we call a change order, you got to be fair. And you got to understand that if you didn't sit there and tell the person from the beginning that you wanted X, Y, Z, if you come midway through the project and say, oh, but wait a minute, we forgot to talk about the shelving and what are we going to do with this space? And I got to put new counters and shelves. Hey, listen, that's called a change order because you're changing the order that you originally gave them. And that needs to be discussed. Here's a big mistake. I see a lot of people doing change orders. They say, okay. They come up with the idea, the brainstorming, the design. Everybody gets excited. Yeah, no problem. We can do it. Everybody finishes the conversation. You leave. Contractor does the work.
They don't want to pay him.
And it was like, oh no, but wait a minute, but you didn't say price. And then the contractor's like, what do you mean? But do you think I work for free? And I did exactly what you asked me to do. Now you got to pay me $3,000 more.
Yeah, definitely.
So
definitely.
That's one of
the big issue.
Huge.
I'll say my first rehab was the same like you. We talked about the house that me and my wife bought, right? And I had no idea what I was doing. I did half the work myself. I was trying to do more work that I couldn't do, and I would ask the contractor midway, hey, I can't do this. Can you do it? Without discussing price, and then became an issue, right? So yes, it was more on me than it was on him. And I learned from that ordeal. But you definitely have to make sure that if you're going to change something, there's payment that needs to be accounted for in changing that order, because that contract is starting from the slate you give him at first, right? He'll add on. If he adds on, you have to add on to that price.
Correct. Now, here's a little tip. If you're having that conversation and price doesn't get discussed, you are the owner, you're the head honcho on this project. You say, all right, what's that going to look like budget-wise? If he says, don't worry about it, we'll throw it in, then okay, cool. Put that in writing. Put that in writing. Add it to the construction schedule and get it signed off by both. Here's another tip. If you're changing something where you're taking away something they're doing and then adding something that they're going to do, depending on if it compensates or not, they might try to charge you for the change order, but you got to point out to them, wait a minute. I'm taking away, for example, the renovation I'm doing right now. We were going to redo a whole laundry room. It was like all beat up, so let's redo it. We ended up just saying knock it down and bring the laundry inside one of the rooms in the house. So there was a change order for a couple things that we discussed. What's the budget, right? But I had to point out, remember, you're not going to have to do the work of building the laundry room. So we adjusted it to, something that was fair, because my automatic instinct is just going to be like, oh, well, that's going to be an extra $2,000. Okay, cool. But what's my savings by taking away this?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, well, so then it ended up being only an extra $800. Like, that's a big difference in price.
That is definitely.
So anyway, back to my story. This guy starts the typical, hey, I can't go today because my car. Oh, hey, I can't go today because, my aunt's sick and I have to take her to the clinic. So we're trying to move into the house. This guy keeps, coming one day or coming half a day, and like what was supposed to finish in 4 weeks is now taking 6 weeks, and now we're going on 8 weeks. And now the frustration is starting to set in, and it's a tug of war. Bro, you said you were coming. You never showed up. What's the deal? And then it was the crying game. Hey, the truck broke down. You think I could get an extra $1,500 so I could get it fixed? If not, I'm not going to be able to get over there. So then now you're starting to pay more and more of the proposed budget. So I ended up paying about 75% out, fighting with this guy, 4 weeks behind schedule. Probably 75% of the work was done. Finally, like kicking and screaming, got him back to the project. He finished probably about 90% and wanted all the money. Now, because I knew it was such a mission, now it was all the punch list, right? So the punch list is at the end, all the little like paint spots, all the little electrical
outlet plates, doorknobs, the final things to finish the house. So your house is finished and that 90% finished.
Correct. So let's do the punch list. And hey, you need to hang the lamp. You need to do this. This needs to be painted. Caulking needs to be done here. We got to fix this. We got to do this, put that. Okay. Come up with a list about 14 items. The guy tries to say, well, if you don't pay me the rest, I'm not going to finish. Like, that wasn't part of the agreement. You're going to get 100% of your money towards the end when it's all done. Well, it's all done. No, all done is punch list and off. Just because tile was done, just because like all the main things were done,
Doesn't
we
mean
got
done.
into such a big argument. The guy got so pissed, he jumped in his van and took off. Luckily, I still had 25% of the budget because I had to end up calling somebody else to come in and finish all the stupid little things because this guy, at the end of the day, needed the money so bad, was hot-tempered. He was messing with the wrong one because I don't care how pissed you get. A deal's a deal, an agreement is an agreement. And I don't trust that I'm going to pay you the last bit of the money. Or,
You're gonna finish it.
yeah, it came out to be like he said, like, just leave me the $500 because what I got to do here is 1 day of work. $500 is, you know, a lot more than 1 day's worth of work that I'll come and knock this out. And I think I had like maybe $2,000 left.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, like,
yeah.
I'm not giving you $1,500. I want you to come back because you want the $2,000, not $500. So if you don't want to fit, I said, listen, bro, the time we're arguing here, you could have been knocking things out. So a guy got pissed, got in his car, never came back, didn't get his $2,000, and I ended up getting somebody for like $750 to come in and like finish all the last little details and do a couple of change orders that I wanted. So it actually ended up saving me a little bit of money towards the end, but the time, the aggravation, we were 4 weeks late. It was a mission, and that started developing the process now that I have, which is a construction schedule where we're literally putting everything with a budget for each item. So it's like kitchen, this is how much it is. And you could do this on an Excel spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
Bathroom, boom. Master bathroom, this. Guest bathroom, this. Painting on the outside, this. Landscaping in the front, this much. And I literally lay all this out. And we break it into phases. All right, phase 1, we're doing this. Phase 2, we're doing this. Phase 3, we're doing this. And now I pay out in phases, but I never pay more than 75% of the project. So the last 25%, they know that the phases out.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're in phase 4, last phase of the project, and that 25% is going to be held until it's all done because I'm not going to be in a situation like that where you'll have people. Look, on another project that I just had right now, we reconditioned the terrazzo floors. Don't ask me why. There was a room that the tile was perfect in this project. It didn't have terrazzo. It was a garage that got converted into a room.
Mm-hmm.
There was no terrazzo under that. We weren't gonna do anything. The tile was perfect there. That room didn't need anything. The guy that I contracted to buff out the terrazzo floors and the rest of the house didn't show up to the job. He sent his people. My project manager was there, but he was in another room doing his thing. These guys were going to start. All right, cool. You're going to start. They could have started in the living room. They could have started in the kitchen. They could have started in the bathroom. But for whatever reason, they decided to start in that room that had tile that I had told their guy, the business owner that does the buffing of the terrazzo floors, this room we're not going to do. Brother, they chipped out about 13 tiles. Here's also the question. Like, here's another part of the story on that project. Brother, when you take out one tile and you see there's no terrazzo under there.
Why'd you keep going?
Why'd you keep going?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, that's crazy.
My project manager
as far as like,
notices it. Huh?
As far as time frames, right? Because you talked earlier about the guy who kept going over and over and over, right? By rule, are you giving your contractors, hey, this needs to be done within this amount of time? And if not, right, the pay comes off.
Yeah. So that's a very good point. And we got a couple questions. We'll do the questions after this. So whatever my contractors tell me they're going to do. So let's say phase 1, we need 2 weeks. Okay. Phase 2, we need 2 weeks. Okay. Phase 3, we need 3 weeks. So let's just say the total project they're saying is 7 weeks. I usually will tack on 10 days. I said, listen, brother, you say you're going to finish this in X amount of days, 7 weeks. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you 10 more days, another week and a half. If we hit those 10 days that because you're taking on other jobs, and I don't care if your car breaks down, I don't care if you get diarrhea, whatever the case may be, you got 10 free days. After that, every day is $100 off.
Got it. So you're giving them a 10-day buffer, right? And then if after that, boom. Okay, I like that. Because that's important, man. If you don't do that, contractors will milk your time. They'll take this job. That job might be quicker, right? They get a paycheck now. They'll take that job. So you got to make sure you're putting those time frames in there.
100. And the conversation is simple. I don't even bring that up, right? We're talking about what's it going to take. We're talking about the quote. We're talking about the time frame. When they say 7 weeks, I tell them, you know the history of contractors. I don't want to be fighting with you. No, for sure, 7 weeks. Give us the job. They're selling themselves. I say, you're sure? Positive. Yeah, guaranteed. I've already cushioned myself. Okay, fair enough. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you 10 more days. Okay, 10 more days. They're like, okay, cool, no problem. But here's what we're going to do. If after 7 weeks plus 10 days, you're still here, and it's not because of the city or on me, but it's because you haven't been able to come and do what you got to do, it's $100 off whatever the balance is left for every day that we're not done. Do you want the job? Yes or no?
Got it. Great point.
That's how I handle the conversation, because I think a lot of people are scared
to even talk. Yeah, to even bring it up, right? Yeah, definitely.
But the way I've positioned it is like, what's the problem? You just promised me. Like, I don't even bring that up. That's like the ace in my back pocket. Mm-hmm. You just promised me 7 weeks, no problem. You just said I'm not gonna have to chase you down. So then, what's the problem if I put $100 off? You just said we're not gonna get there.
Definitely. Yep. And you gave him a little bit of extra time too, right? So you're basically saying, look, I'm gonna give you 7 weeks plus this time, and you can do it in 7 weeks, so we're good. So
yeah,
I like that.
I put that in there. Joseph is asking, how many estimates do you get for each job?
And that depends on where you're at, right? If you have a relationship with this contractor and they've done many jobs from you, you're not going outside of your contractor, right? You built a relationship, you know that they're going to do a good job, you trust their prices, they know you're sticking there, right? For example, one I'm doing right now in Pennsylvania, right? We're looking for 3 estimates for each job because we haven't done anything in this certain part before, right? So it depends on what part you're at and what relationship you have with your contractors in that area. But if you're good with somebody, all you need is that one guy.
Yeah. So I have a carpenter on my team. The guy is money. Like, he's half the price of most people. So, for example, I'm doing a project right now with a family member. So whenever you do a project with a family member, talking about project managing, this is actually a good point. When you're doing it with a friend or a family member, I'm used to getting in there, boom, 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 let's get things done, making decisions. I got the same color schemes I usually use. I got the same carpenter. I got the same, I got my way of how I knock these out. They want to feel part of it, and they want to make decisions, and they want to do part of what the TV thing is, and and I get it, and I understand, and for this partnership and any one of these types of situations to go well, you gotta mentally know you're coming into this with, all right, I can't impose my will and I can't impose my system. I gotta play the game so that they feel comfortable and don't feel like, oh, why did I end up doing this deal with this guy He's, a dictator on the project. Now,
and then you break up.
If there's an experience that I know that if it's an error, obviously I'm going to speak up and be like, look, that's not going to work. I've been down this road before. We got to watch out for this. We got to watch out for that. But for example, to answer Joseph's question, my carpenter's my kitchen guy, my closet guy, my door guy, and he's cheaper than anything out there. Like right now, I'm doing some modern barn doors, and you can't get barn doors anywhere for less than $350. He's doing them custom size, custom design to what I'm looking for $200 a door. Like that's $150 a door at the cheapest rate on the market. Probably that door would be custom size $400 or $500. So I'm saving a couple $100 per door with my guy. So, but he's my guy. These partners, family members, and friends, they don't know. And it's like, well, I have a friend who also does it. Let's get a quote. So, all right, cool. You get your quote. I'm going to have my guy go out there and get a quote, and we'll compare. Sure enough, we got a couple quotes. We got for a kitchen setup, $7,000. For another kitchen setup, $6,000. And then my guy comes in at $3,900.
Hey, but you know what? The thing you did the right way was you said, okay, go ahead and do it, right? Because some people say, nah, we're gonna just use my guy. I do it all the time, right? But you let them see that, okay, go ahead and try, see what you can get, and then we'll come back and bring it together. So that kind of alleviated a lot of the tension because you said, okay, go ahead and do that.
Correct. Now, what I do like, and Joseph, this is a little hack. I do like bringing in 2 or 3 people for each specific situation because each person gives you ideas.
True. Definitely true.
Each person gives you a solution. And either you notice that they all have something in common or what one person's way of doing it, because what I've learned in renovations and flips and in project managing is it's like car mechanics. Like one guy will fix your situation this way. Another guy will fix it this way. They just know what's within their realm of knowledge, experience, and craftsmanship. Definitely. If you find someone else that has a better way or better craftsmanship, they're going to explain it to you and why. Then at that point, you just go with your gut to the person that was like, this guy knows what he's talking about. This guy explained it logically, it told me how to fix this and gave me a price that's within my budget. You'll know in your gut feeling who the right person for the job is, and then you just got to manage them correctly.
I agree. Definitely.
So those are a couple of my horror stories. I got flooding in a crawl space in one of the properties. When it rains,
this is right now.
This is right now. It completely floods the whole crawl space. So I got a problem of humidity, obviously, because there's a pool of water there that takes 2 or 3 days to dry up once the sun comes out. If it keeps raining, then I stay with a pool of water under the house. The first foundation company that I brought to check the foundation and make sure that humidity was causing erosion on the, the truss and the beams under the house, where you can see the exposed rebar from the concrete, basically melting away from the humidity and water problem we're having in this house. The first foundation company gets under there and they're like, no, can't do anything. This is a lost cause. I mean, listen, those are those moments as an investor when someone goes down there and says something like that to you and your freaking sack goes into your throat and you're like, what nightmare did I get myself into? What do you mean we can't solve this? What do you mean we can't fix this? And of course, my team, my contractor's like, listen, bro, I've never met a job that doesn't have a solution.
I was going to say, there's always a solution, right? I mean, that's that moment. And like contractors are like, they're like CPAs, right? Some CPAs just don't know how to do what you want them to do. And they'll tell you, oh, you can't do it that way. You have to keep finding out who knows what you want them to do, right? So you can definitely solve the issue. But I've been there where they tell you, hey, this is the issue. And it's like, wait, I got to tear the whole house down. I got to tear the whole house down. We can't do anything else, so I tear the whole house down.
So I get a second company to come out there, right? And they're like, oh, let me go in, let me see. So the first guy puts on his rain boots, gets under there, says, this is hopeless, comes back out, sweating. Nah, we won't even touch this. I'm like, all right. The best you can do is do this, a $30,000 Band-Aid thing that he wanted to quote me, whatever. Second guy comes out there, and he's got the technology stuff, right? He's like using the lasers within the house, measuring if the foundation is off. He goes under there. He's testing the, soil and humidity levels into the soil and coming up with all this data, this, that. And then for $13,000, quotes me. So I got a $30,000 Band-Aid. This is hopeless reaction first time around. Second time around, this guy comes and says, listen, man, not only can we solve this, your foundation is not really off. There's a little bit of a dip in the kitchen area, but the rest of the house is, within the good situation. So you don't have a foundation issue here. So these in my throat decide to fall back to where they need to fall back to. And it's like, all right, I can deal now with solution. And then the guy goes on to present me like they go in there, they drain out the water, they set up a pumping system, they're high-tech technology. That pumping system runs automatically. You only got to change a filter once or twice a year. They completely clean out the crawl space. They put like this lining under there, and you can essentially make it like your attic. Now you can like store things under there. You can comfortably go down there without a problem. There's no more dirt. There's no more crap down there. It's lined perfectly. The humidity's being pumped out. The water's being pumped out. And apparently your whole issue is solved. They even sell jacks if you needed to jack up the foundation of the house. But he was like, you don't even need that. Don't even worry about the jacks. You just need the clean crawl space with the pump and the humidity, situation. And we can knock this all out for 13 grand. I'm like, not a problem. Okay, better solution. My contractor's there the whole time listening to all this and hearing the ideas. And then at the end, my contractor's like, look, based off everything what these guys told me, like, well, you could just excavate the situation, let the water roll out away from the house instead of inside the house, redo the foundation, the dirt padding on the crawl space. A couple of things there that is not my area of expertise, but he's super confident that he'll be able to do it and that it will be not even close to $10,000. So that is
you went from a $30,000 impossible Band-Aid to a $10,000 fix, right? And that was because you collaborated with different people coming in, and your contractor was able to say, okay, hey, I can take these items and make it work. And that's why you have to have multiple eyes and minds on every project you do. Like you have to.
So multiple estimates, and I would say 3 is a good number, gives you ideas, and you may not even need to use them, but you get design ideas, you get problem fixes ideas, and then you go with what makes the most sense for you, whether it's with the people or just, doing it yourself with your team.
Definitely.
We got Ken talking about so much value in this video. We appreciate it, Ken. Quick, unrelated question. What is your criteria as far as JVing, and will you JV with somebody in Texas? All right. Very good question.
Yeah, I mean, as far as JVing, it's just kind of look at the numbers of the deal, right? So we don't mind the area, right? The area doesn't matter to us. If the numbers make sense in the deal, we're open to JVing on it. So if you got a deal, send it to us. Go to our website. We have a link there you can fill out with all the information on your deal and send it over. We'll look it over and let you know. But yeah, we're open to any area. It's just more about the deal itself.
Yeah, there's 2 ways of JVing. Some people just need the sounding board and kind of like the board of advisors, and they just want us to kind of walk them through the deal, how to do the deal, what's the next step, how to get it sold, or how to handle some of the legal side of things, and who should they reach out to, and they just need the board of advisors to make sure they're making the proper steps. And then there's the people that need either funding or they have no idea what to do with the deal, and they want us to kind of be, 50-50 partners on the deal. So there really is different ways of being able to JV.
Definitely.
On a deal. We got Joseph asking, what about extra money if they get done early? Putting a little bonus. I mean, I've never tried that, but yeah, that incentive is a golden carrot. Always gets people moving.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you need to get a job done quickly, I guess the best way with that is like, hey, I need this done in 4 weeks, right? Can you do it in 4 weeks? Because you don't want to put a bonus on there and you rush and it's not done right? So you kind of want to have that story up front, like, hey, do you think this can be done in 4 weeks? This is my timeline, and then kind of if you do get it done in 4 weeks, I'll pay you, such and such more than if we can't do it, But end of the day, we're dealing with real estate, and you don't want it done wrong. You want it done right. So, don't tell a contractor who says I can do it in 8 weeks, I need it done in 2 weeks, right? You'll see that on Flip This House in these HGTV shows, but that doesn't really happen in real life.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Very good point. What do you do with the virtual flips that I've only done 2 renovations, and it was in Tampa, and I would at least be able to drive up every 2 to 3 weeks and see it for myself. I would get pictures in the meantime. How do you handle your updates?
Yeah, it's pictures and videos, and then it's just again trusting my guy up there who's overseeing it to give me the information back that I need. So
play-by-play.
The last one that we did, the one that we did that the house that had the fire that actually you funded, I didn't fly up. I flew up after halfway to check on it to make sure it was good. I flew up at the beginning and halfway. So I do like to look at it. At least before and then kind of in the middle of it. But again, I got to trust my guys who are there, relaying information back to me and trust those videos and those pictures.
We got Ken asking, have we ever tried to flip or know anyone who did a flip in the middle of a hurricane or a flood? So that, believe it or not, is a good point to bring up. When you're managing a project, if you're in a hurricane zone like you are in South Florida, and some of the East Coast states and on the Gulf as well, the challenge becomes not just, can my project get blown away? Like, obviously, that's the obvious one. But when there's a storm in what they call the cone area, your insurance is, if you're trying to get insurance on a flip, freeze. Like, they're not, they're not. If you already have insurance, you're good. But if you're trying to acquire a flip and there's a storm coming and you're trying to close, your insurance may not. They basically go on pause. Like, let's see if the storm passes or if it gets out of the cone area, and then we'll give you insurance. So I've had a couple acquisitions over the years during hurricane season that we've had to put the whole thing on timeout until we figure out what the situation is with a storm, because we can't get insurance on there. And if you can't get insurance, you should not close, because if you close, hurricane comes and you don't have insurance.
So on the financing side, you deal with that too then, where you have a homeowner who's going to close on a Friday, right? And ETA or whatever shows up, you got to push that back 3 or 4 days so it passes the area that the home is in.
Hurricanes always delay closings because insurances will not bind if these storms are in the cone, the eye of the cone that they have, outlined or whatever.
Got you. Okay, good. Yeah. That's good. That's great information to know. So, yeah, and I know timing is huge with rehabs right now. I mean, for example, up north of Michigan and PA, we're about to hit wintertime, right? And so, of course, wintertime comes. If you can do some stuff in the summertime without electricity on, right? But now when wintertime comes, you need electricity, you need heat. There's all kind of other factors. Also, COVID. Let's talk about COVID when it comes to construction, right? COVID has shut down construction in multiple states throughout this country. And that's another fear right now is, will states reenact restrictions on construction, right? So there's a lot of hurdles when, scheduling out that construction rehab job, you have to, take into, effect before you go out there and actually start it.
Yeah. So we'll finish with this point. The biggest mistake that I see when people are managing their projects with renovations is the negotiations, like we talked about, are not clear. They're not written down. They're not scheduled. They're also best case scenario. And that's the last point that I want to make. Everybody is like glass half full when it comes to their numbers, when it comes to what's going to happen. And I'm a glass type, half full type of person in my life in general. However, I hope for the best and plan for the worst.
Yeah. I think in real estate too, like, it's, because you said in your life, we walk around, with a lot of optimism and positive vibes. But in real estate, when it comes to deals, I'm always more conservative, right? If you say 10,000 rehab, I'm gonna say 15. If you say ARV's 80 grand, I'm gonna say 70, right? Because that just gives you that buffer to make a smart decision.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I got 2 renovation projects. I'm finally closing one next week. And I'm in the middle of one right now that they're each over a year time frame of what my hope was originally to have them done. Because the city, because of COVID, because change orders, things that pop up, there's 1,000 reasons why that are unforeseen that could delay your project. So if you're doing your numbers and you need this to work in 3 months, and you're not getting permits, but you're doing work that requires permits, understand that you are rolling the dice.
Yeah. I mean, just the holding cost in general, right? Just the holding cost of paying, whatever your financing is on that for a year or more. If you're not taking that into effect, that's a huge cost right there, where you see a lot of these deals end up being sold to the guys like us who call them up and say, hey, that house is still sitting there, right? It's because they're shooting too high and too optimistic and not factoring in those what could happen.
Exactly. So if you think you're going to finish it in 3, cool, awesome. I hope you do, but you should be doing numbers at 6 to 9 and see if it still works. Like at 6, man, I lose money. At 9, damn, I'd lose a lot of money, but I'm not broke and out of business. All right, well, you could roll the dice because you have you're mentally prepared that if something pops up and it takes you 9 months, you're not out of business. But if this is all my life savings, everything needs to work, and I need to be out there in 3 months, and I need to hit this number, and if not, I'm going to be divorced and out of a house, like, that is the project you need to take on.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, that's the whole thing when it comes to rehabs, when it comes to flip rehab and rental rehab. They can be done. I don't do a lot of flips. I think, Kevin, the one you're talking about is more of a rental property, correct? I mean, the one that's the year over was a
flip and one is a rental.
But again, you get in trouble when you don't plan accordingly, right? You have to plan accordingly. You have to do all your numbers. It's not as simple as, hey, I bought it for 50 and needs 15. I'm gonna sell it for 100 grand. No, you got to plan accordingly for rainy days. For permits, for shutdowns, for, now for COVID and restrictions. There's so many things that can happen that you need to plan for on the front end to make sure you're prepared.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys got some tips and tricks. Hopefully you kind of get an idea of project managing and selecting the right people, going through your references, using estimates to your advantage, organizing everything, how to approach negotiations, some of the mistakes, hope for the best and plan for the worst. And at the end of the day, I know we kind of talk about some of the not so pretty stories, but that is to let you know that we're still standing, we still make money, we're still doing it. So it's not to scare you, it's definitely to make sure you're doing things the right way and get in the game.
Yeah. Ultimately, I tell everybody, just make sure you have the stomach for investing. As long as you can take what comes at you, you're good. It's the people who can't take when that happens and they're like, oh man, nobody told me this. Well, at least we told you. So, take what comes and keep moving on. And, there are still plenty of deals out there right now. There can be plenty of deals for a time to come. Find a good deal, run your numbers, and shut up and invest.
Yep. This right here, guys, is a show that when you have family members coming up in Thanksgiving and then Christmas and want to talk about potentially flipping because there's going to be good deals coming, share this show with them. Go on our YouTube. It'll be available on YouTube by tomorrow. And then this will be a great talking point.
Sounds good. All right, man.
My brother. Enjoy Puerto Rico.
All right, man. See ya. Have a good day.